The In Conversation podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My new book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
The very best way to promote your podcasts. Podpage makes it easy to create a podcast website with just a few clicks. Every page is optimized to be found on Google and it stays up to date forever. For more information, visit podpage.com. The future of podcast promotion.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my In Conversation podcast series. My guest for this episode is an American who has been awarded by not one but two previous US presidents. He also works with the United Nations. Filmmaker Hezues R. Hi Hezues, welcome to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here on the In Conversation.
Pleasure to have you. So, where do you live?
Currently, I live in New Jersey.
Okay, and how is it there?
It's pretty quiet, much more quiet than New York City, where I previously resided and had my offices and studios and operation for most of my career.
So, where did you grow up and what was it like?
I was kind of all over, mostly New York, a bit back and forth to South America because that's where my family's from. My later teens, early 20s, I did a couple years in Houston, Texas. But I kind of had a experience in different areas, which I guess gave me, prepared me to have a bigger world view, if you will. A lot of my peers in New York, unfortunately, didn't get outside of our immediate environment that much. And I think that tends to limit our perspective.
So in your life, has there been an experience in your life that you believe fundamentally changed you as a person?
I think every experience doesn't necessarily change us, but influences our perspective. And I'd like to think that everyone maintains an inner voice, that we react to these things in a way where we're not entirely programmed or conditioned by them, but hopefully we remain some of who we are. But for me, I've had a lot of adversity, and then I've put myself in a position through hard work to have a lot of privilege.
So you're quite involved with the media. What made you become interested in becoming in that line of work?
You know, it's something that I didn't realize I wanted to get into. It came out of the need of helping other people. And through that organic process of wanting to impact my community, I found film as an influential medium to, hopefully to inspire people to do more positive things and make more use of their life, be a little bit more aspirational and ambitious to get outside of their environment, mainly to address people in the community that I came from, because we are impacted by violence and drugs and a lot of different things. And I felt like nobody cared. The fact that we were killing each other, and, even worse, we didn't care.
So what was your first media project?
It was a TV show called Eye on It. Eye on It, the IT stands for inspirational television. So it was about having your eye on it, something that would inspire you and motivate you. The purpose of the platform was to give local artists an opportunity to get exposure and further their career. But we mixed it up with elements of having other major artists on the platform, just so we can create the attention and bring more awareness to the local artists that we were profiling.
So how did you become involved in creating advertising campaigns?
Well, I always had a knack for branding, and I've been in production, and a lot of production always involved marketing, because you have to create content and then package the content in some form or fashion. And through marketing, I've had my hands in various different projects, from product design and development And then I got more directly involved with advertising when I got a call to go run Puffy's agency as the executive producer. And then I got deeper into advertising as a focus of, different aspects of media production. And from there, I launched Creative Gods and then continued to serve other major brands internationally and luxury brands. And now I've kind of retired from advertising and fallen back to my true passion, which is film.
So you mentioned Puffy, otherwise known as P. Diddy, and advertising his fragrances. So how did that come about?
I was really successful in the industry, and I was creating a lot of content and had some notoriety behind the scenes. So they approached me to, come run their shop. I actually turned them down the first 2 times because I was successful and was happy where I was at. I had opened the first film studio in the Bronx. We were doing 3 or 4 music videos a weekend. Travis Scott shot one of his first videos in my studio. We had so many amazing productions go down at Shoot HR, which was the studio facility in the Bronx. And I think the 3rd time they called, I was out in Thailand doing something, working with my brother Salim on some other projects, launching some TV networks. And I said, I had to come back to New York at a certain date that I'd already planned. And I said, you know what? Yeah, sure. I'll come in and meet with the team. And I decided to take a shot to go deeper into advertising.
So you were also involved with creating the official fragrances for the wedding of Prince William and Katie Middleton. How did you become involved in that?
Sure. I was working with a gentleman named Michael Bodie. He was the second biggest hair session stylist in the world, working with all the major brands and fashion designers, supermodels and such. And he wanted to do a fragrance when he was in New York. So I created a fragrance for him. I created the name, the brand, the identity. He worked on the scents, and we launched Bodicea the Victorious, which was referenced after this woman soldier from, however many years ago. I don't remember the dates of her time, but they have a statue of her in London. And then we launched at Harrods and did about $1 million in sales in the first year, 1 store. And then we launched at Selfridges, and then the brand got picked up internationally. And then the follow-up collection, the White Gardenia Rose Petal, was chosen as the official fragrance of the royal wedding.
So how did you become involved in producing promotional videos?
It was just through the process of going from one thing to the next. It wasn't something that I was keen about. My focus has always been around social impact and providing opportunity and resources for the community. So when I started Eye on It, that was a direct means of impacting a specific audience. And then later I wanted to have something that would change the perspective of where I came from, of putting down a gun and picking up a camera. So I started the Guns for Cameras program. Up until last year, we opened the SICK Film School, SIC standing for Social Impact Content.
So when did you decide to get involved in making movies?
I finally decided to focus on film in the last 2 years. My whole career, I was always putting other people on and serving brands and helping to elevate other people's careers. And I never really focused on myself. We live in a very selfish world where everybody takes and nobody gives. And I was in a position where I was constantly doing for others. And a couple of years ago, I had my first child, my daughter. And at that point, you have a little bit of a reflection on what your legacy, your purpose, and what it all adds up to. And I decided that I was going to pursue my own passion and my own dreams, and that was to make films. I knew that out of everything else I've ever done, the thing I was most talented at was directing. So even though I was a producer for Puffy's $800 million empire, that paled in comparison in terms of my talent as a director. I just never gave myself that opportunity to focus on it. And it was the thing I was most passionate about. So I feel like with this next film, Suicide Saint, it's going to be my masterpiece. It's definitely going to be a breakout project in terms of impact in the industry. And I know I'm going to shock a lot of people with it.
Well, you've been honored by 2 American presidents. When did that happen, and what were those awards for?
Yeah, first was by Bush for my work in financial literacy. And then second was by Barack Obama as a champion of change. And that was a lot to do around my work in utilizing arts for violence prevention, gun violence prevention, accredited for things like Guns for Cameras, and then also being a delegate for the United Nations. I represented the U.S. to 34 countries in the Western Hemisphere in terms of how to create toolkits and package programs for youth in utilizing the arts for violence prevention, which then I met with all the ministers of culture from the respective countries for them to adopt those policies that I created with a group of other delegates from each one of the respective countries. But Obama was as a champion of change. That was a lot of fun. It was cool to go to the White House.
So you're an advocate for those who suffer from some type of mental illness. What inspired you to become involved with that particular issue?
Yeah, mental illness has become a great passion for me. And like other things that I kind of get involved with from, I would say, in a very organic way, I didn't realize how bad the problem was. I didn't realize how big the impact was and how much every other problem that we faced in society is derived from our mental health. Suicide rates have increased 30% in the last 2 decades, and that was before the last 6 months of this sustained pandemic where people are isolated, depressed, anxious. So we've had even further spikes in suicide rates and domestic violence and all types of other issues that are coming to the surface. So for me, this film isn't just about severe mental illness, but it's about creating more awareness and concern and focus on just our overall mental health for everyone. Every thought and every opinion and every expression and every conversation engagement that we have with each other is a product of our mental health, how well we're able to regulate our moods, how we react to things, how we perceive things. All our thoughts come from our mind. So definitively, the more you focus on creating a balance or meditating or your mind is a muscle like any other part of your brain. So the more work you put into, having that stability and that strength, the better results are going to come in your life.
Well, you've got a new movie coming out soon. So when will this movie be released? What's it called and what is it about?
12/22/21 is the release date. The film is called Suicide Saint. It's addressing mental health. The two main characters, Vincent Cross and Thomas Metal, respectively go through their, they battle with their illnesses that they have. And there's themes of not only mental health, but absent fathers and a couple other messages that we're creating awareness with through the project.
So what other plans do you have for the future?
Right now, it's just this film. Most of my career, I've multitasked. I've done, ran a lot of different companies or consulted for a lot of different brands or handled different artists and talent, under the purview of our Creative Gods brand. But now I'm solely focusing on one film at a time.
So I understand that your movie is going to be featured at the United Nations. Can you tell me something about that?
Sure. The UN has, I have an ongoing relationship with them, but they stepped in to support and endorse this film globally. They have a 40 Days Safer Cities Challenge as part of their mandate to reduce urban violence by 50% by the year 2030. So in their 40 Days Safer City Challenge, which starts September 1st and goes to October 31st, we're going to be day number 20, which falls on October 10th, World Mental Health Day. So we're going to be profiled on that day as the only film in the world that's being supported by the UN.
So Hezues, how can people contact you?
Through Instagram is the easiest way, at Hezues R, HEZUES R. And that's also my website, my Facebook, and my YouTube.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Another In Conversation podcast coming soon.